Hello, and welcome to the Chronic Health Collective. Your fresh start begins here. We've gathered powerful coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, heal from the inside out, and step into a life that feels vibrant, aligned, and deeply fulfilling. If you're ready for better health, stronger relationships, and more purpose, you're in the right place. Dawn Omalza is an author and guide in emotional alchemy who helps women transform challenging emotions into gateways for growth and authentic self expression. She ignites digital biofeedback, creative emotional wizardry, and an expressive art to foster emotional release and resilience. As co creator of My Zen Heart, a women's collective, Dawn holds heartfelt workshops and circles where community and transformation flourish. Today, Dawn is joining me to talk about that movie Disclosure Day and get down to the nitty gritty of really how that applies in our everyday life. So, Dawn, tell me about this movie. I have not seen it yet, so full disclosure there.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. It's great to be on the show again. And yeah, it definitely is one to watch. Not your typical Steven Spielberg movie, like The Close Encounters. It wasn't just another alien movie. Um, it really was about how humanity responds when everything we know has fundamentally changed in this world and how we see it, how we perceive things. And so, it really resonated with me in what we do in our field because, like for myself, and I'm sure this was part of your journey as you've become, the person you are today. It's it's getting glimpses of things that make you question, like, wait a minute, that's not what I was taught, right? And then you start to like wonder, and then you start watching these movies, you start watching, or reading more books about the topic, and it just builds your curiosity. And the more you dig into that rabbit hole, the more you start to question everything, and it becomes actually a very confusing time at some point because you're not sure what to believe anymore. It's like, and how real is everything that we're
Well, and
living.
I think that that kind of, we with so much social media, so much
Mhm.
information just absolutely flooding us at all times,
Yep.
and then the way those algorithms, and I know I talk a lot of times is about the algorithms giving you confirmation bias. You look at one
Mhm.
thing and it's like, "Yeah, I kinda agree with that," and then you see 50 of them, and so then it really reinforces what you do, and I think that if we're not
Mhm.
careful, we can get swept away into things, but I think that it is always important to always question everything. I'm a master
Mhm.
gardener and they say, yeah, you can Google things and you need to Google it and then you need to have look at least 10 sources and find at least three things that
Mhm.
agree. And I think that as, you know, there's also that part of just becoming of age. I
Yeah.
think there's transformations, there's different things that happen, and if we believe all the hormonal changes, especially as women, that we go through that give us
Mhm.
differing opinions about how things should continue to go forward. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about the movie. How did that get you really thinking about, how we and I think that you and I would talk about our clients having that spiritual awakening
Mhm.
when we start to question everything.
Oh yeah. Well, well, not to, well, oh, the movie's out already, so oh, too bad. But in the beginning of the movie, Emily Blunt, like, she's just living her ordinary day as we do, and there's a scene in the movie where this, cardinal flies into her apartment, and she just has this connection to the cardinal, and it's like the cardinal is speaking to her in a language that no one else would ever could even fathom, right? And it clicks a memory for her in her subconscious that brings it to life. And then at that point, that's when she just immediately makes this, I call it shape shifting, right? Shape shifting doesn't mean a physical form, but shape shifting in your whole paradigm of how your mind thinks and sees things. And that's what happened for her. And then she goes down this journey of discovering her past that she had suppressed as a child, and it just takes off from there. And for me, it really connected with the things that I've experienced, several years ago. Like every time I go to the beach, these birds just flock to me. It's like it's really weird. And my partner, he always makes fun. He's like, "What are you, like the bird whisperer? Why are they always coming to you? You don't even have like food. You're not trying to feed them, whatever." Or just things that I've experienced as a kid that I know I had suppressed because it was kind of scary experiences, especially the whole uh, out of body experience, and just being able to literally take myself outside of my human body and see it from a different realm that I know people are like, yeah, you probably were dreaming. But yeah, that's what it's all about, is being able to step into a different parallel reality. And right. And so of course no one would ever like understand or even believe me if I told them that as a kid. But my dad, I told him that story one time about how I used to in a night dream and then like really step outside of my body, and I could see myself floating across the ceiling. And he actually told me, he goes, "Don, are you sure you were dreaming?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's what happened with her in the movie. And so I it was crazy because another thing that happened in that movie was where she reflected what happened in her experience as a child. And another experience she had that totally flipped me out was the aliens actually presented themselves as animals, not as their spiritual beings, because they know that we would actually freak out if we saw their true being, right? If we've never seen that. And I actually been working recently on a project that has to do with animals. And so I was just in awe. I mean, and by the end of the movie, um, I was actually in tears in the whole thing, and I was like, it really made me emotional. And so I asked the audience today, it's like, what if tomorrow, all of our governments on earth confirm that, we're not alone? And what would our first emotion be? Would it be excitement? Would it be fear? Would it be skepticism? Or, like for me, it was actually kind of relief. And so I think that was like the major question for this movie, Disclosure Day. And the film just, oh my gosh, it was yeah, it was just like, I don't know how to explain it, but like a long held belief system that I think we've been all these movies that we've been watching, like The Matrix and even older stuff than that, it has been introducing us to all of these things. And so I don't know. I would ask you, Amanda, like if that was true, where the government finally said, yeah, well, they kind of have, right? Like suddenly they have, right? But I guess so. For you, well, like what belief systems have you outgrown? Especially in more so in the most recent years.
I think that a lot of it is the my girls are older now in their 20s and 30s, and watching them grow and watching them develop. And I know, so still watching children in the school systems, and I look at the school system, and Christy Boyd Johnson, with barefoot learning, and Christy and I talking and going back and forth. And I think that that's one of those things where I always told my kids when they were little and they'd watch a TV show, and there'd be something that would just be totally preposterous. And I'd say, well, it's not. impossible. Someone thought it. So
Mhm.
therefore something similar has happened. And we've seen so many things coming out of, this story and that story. And I think that it will be a relief. There are so many things that we've had to cover up.
Mhm.
It's how do you get that many people to buy into Area 51 or to buy into this conspiracy and that conspiracy? I would think it would be a relief for me individually, looking at how I process things and where things come through for me. It gives me that freedom to explore on my own. And I always talk about reclaiming myself, being true to my authentic person and not always performing these roles that we are
Mhm.
assigned to.
Mhm.
So, and I think that that's just kind of that little niche in the corner of where is it at? When we take it down to the little things, it was like I want my kids to do well and perform well in school and everything, but I also, if they were doing the best they could,
Mhm.
that's all we can add. Those grades, those were for the teachers.
Yeah.
And so I think I've had a broader sense of how does it really apply to all of humanity?
Mhm.
What are you doing to uphold your end of being that productive member in society? What does that look like?
Mhm. Yep. I share the same sentiment with my children as well, and they're, in their late 20s now, and it was a struggle when they were younger because of the scoring system and this, benchmark that they were not living up to. And as a parent, I knew not to buy into it. I challenged it. And instead of just keeping them within that system, I moved them. And people thought I was crazy. Like, there was one time I literally pulled my son out of elementary school at the fourth quarter of the year. But I was like, I was not going to have my child be subjective to this nonsense, and putting him in a category that he definitely was not, and so, to have that courage to do that, and then and have make that decision and not care about what other people think. Like, I did what was best for my child, and I think the things that we experience, one of the things when I started to become more aware is that when I would hear people talk about certain topics, I would be so quick to jump and judge and like, that's not true. Did you read this book? And did you know? And that wasn't right for me to do, as I've learned later, right? So now it's like, it's to be able to sit in a room full of people that have all these varying different opinions and perspectives, and just to sit there and listen and let them have their own journey. It's not, it took a while for me to get there, but to also not let it affect you, because that's no longer your truth for yourself. That, that's sometimes hard. It's
Oh, it,
hard.
it is hard. And as our truth changes, as our circumstances change, our circles change.
Yeah, yeah.
The people who were, we talk about gathering like-minded people who are ready to grow and to change and to explore everything that could be. And I think that
Mhm.
that's also part of what they would not want us doing.
Right.
Finding comfort outside of the rules and
Mhm.
finding what does work. I mean, I am so envious of those who've, actually gone off the grid. Come back to, our humanness, if you will.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that's my big thing is looking at we're all humans here. We're
Mhm.
we're working through an experience, and I think that the real disclosure is how we've all been pitted against each other.
Mhm.
And when we can put that aside and just appreciate the differences rather than
Mhm.
them being forced on me is how I guess I feel that is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, um, the other thing, with the movie, in the end, that I couldn't help myself but tear was because there was just a turning point in the realization about, and I've read and I've watched some documentaries about how, you know not all aliens are not harmful, I guess, or harmful. But a lot of what we've seen in the media is actually the doing of our government. And I know this one documentary I was watching where they were talking about abductions, that they insinuated pretty much that a lot of those abductions wasn't even the aliens, it was our government itself disguising themselves as an alien experience or a UFO experience, UAP experience, whatever you want to call it. That they were the ones behind the human abductions to do experiments with the aliens, and that's pretty freaky. And again, and that's where humanity comes into play. It's like, okay, maybe this is unfamiliar, but who do you know who decided that we get to treat just because they're different? That where's that humanity, right? Like,
Right.
why, what made us have the right to treat another species in that way? And it's the same thing as all these humanitarian environmental talk about with even just the animals, right? And how they're mistreated and how we put them in zoos, it's no different. So
Yeah.
then, yeah, so when we get into the next segment, I want to talk about, and what we always talk about is the fear versus curiosity.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll be right back after this short break. Is your skin aging, dry, tired, and dull? Are you putting on more and more makeup to cover the fine lines and flaws? Now you don't have to. Coolness Skincare, developed by a middle-aged woman just like you. 2 years in formulating. Pearlescent face and eye serum cream with Schisandra berries and dragon's blood extract for your face, eye, and neck. And the vegan version, Deep Love Face Cream, featuring powerful blue tansy. This face cream is everything you are looking for. Feel your beauty. Visit coolness.com or scan the QR code for more information. Is your skin...
If you were born between December 22nd, 1973 and January 1974, this message is for you. You're entering one of the most powerful energetic windows of your lifetime, your Chiron return. The Chiron return is a cycle where the wounds we've carried for decades rise to become our greatest wisdom. 2026 is your year of preparation, a time to release what no longer resonates, rebuild your energetic foundation, and realign with your truth. Because in 2027, everything changes. I'm Dawn, and I'm just like you. I've lived the perfectionism, the control, and been accused of being emotionally detached. And I've learned that they were never flaws, they were survival codes. Now they're being rewritten. We'll use tools like quantum evaluation, creative emotional wizardry, and principles of parallel realities to help you shift timelines from exhaustion to embodiment, from structure to sovereignty. 2026 is a year of preparation, and 2027 is the year that everything changes. And you, the Capricorn women born in 1974, are the architects of that new era. I'll see you in my Zen Heart community as we realign, recalibrate, and get ready for what's unfolding. Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to continue this discussion regarding the movie that I just watched, Disclosure Day. And one of the biggest things that we talk about all the time is fear versus curiosity. And, you know, every major discovery that we've made as a society, even just within the last 5 years, has been insane. And I'm sure, is making us question and is creating a greater awareness. But, you know, it's forcing us to expand our perspectives. And, maybe now it's in like an invitation, I would say, to ask the bigger questions. And so, like, what if the things that are being presented right now, what if that evidence was true? Then what would actually change? What would you want to actually change for yourself, Amanda? What do you think would be like if they just really reappeared and made themselves present where the government couldn't hide it, right? Um, what would be your first instinct to do?
Ooh, I think being able to just explore the actual truth, to say, what actually happened. And so looking at those things that have been perplexing us for so
Mm-hmm.
long, and as a Gen Xer, we talk about the Mandela effect. You
Mm-hmm.
know, was there really a cornucopia with Fruit of the Loom?
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
and so I think that it would give us the reprise that we're not crazy, and we would be able to go and validate all the things we've been thinking and feeling and doing, bringing us to who we are. I mean, I think it would just, yeah, it would give us that opportunity to speak up and not be chastised for our differing opinion. I would hope that if it came through that we've been lied to for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be such a shock to our system. I think there would be a lot of people picking up the gauntlet and trying to carry out just their opinion, and I would be so hopeful that humanity would rediscover their childlike curiosity and look at each and everything with
Mm-hmm.
that curiosity of figuring it out for themselves instead of being told what to think. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we have so much screen time, we're being told what to think, when to think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, currently here in Iowa, one of the big things that keeps making it to headline is, what if we don't change time anymore? What if we stay in
Mm-hmm.
this time and we don't change it? It's like, well, there's some give and take on both sides of that. Of course it's gonna be different. Why do we have to why are we still analyzing it? We said we want this. But I think that the challenge moving forward will be for people to reinstill their ability to think for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think the challenge is gonna be.
Mm-hmm. A part of the movie was where one of the characters was a former nun. And, you know, I was glad that they brought it up because, you know, she had a conversation with her mentor, and the question she asked was, then what we believed in about God, was it like, is that not true? Is everything about our faith not true? And her mentor explained it very well. It's like, and I don't say that that's the correct thing, but it was a great explanation where you know that we are the supreme beings, or we're here on earth, we are God's children here on earth, right? And they didn't say anything beyond expanding in the universe. And she told the gal, you're not losing your faith, you've lost your faith in people. And so, when you look at how we experience the pandemic, right? There were people who because out of fear, they went into hermit mode, they locked themselves up from society. There were people who monetized it and saw an opportunity to make a buck from it, right? And they did. They did. And then there were some people who were neutral about it. They just followed the rules, did what was, asked of the community, did their thing, and then when people could go back to their normal day lives, they would. But at the end of the day, if we ever had to experience that again, the reaction is not going to be the same. I think there's more people that's going to monetize on it quicker.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for the so when the pandemic hit here in the Midwest, I mean, we hit a couple of months later than other places. I was
Hmm.
working full time in a medical office.
Oh my. Hmm.
And we did not change. We didn't lock our door. We didn't mask up. We did not, we accepted that we tried really hard to look for the facts in it. And I was so exhausted because every day I would read the new printout from public health. I would
Hmm.
read the articles, and we had people calling us, what do we do? What do we do? And um, I got to where the more I read, the less I believed because things kept changing at such a rapid pace. And I think that we have seen some examples where similar things, I think the US particularly has really pushed back and said, no, we're not believing everything you feed us anymore. We
Hmm.
are going to drop back and look at some case studies on our own level. And I think that for the most part, I think that our society got wiser, not as easily led astray, but I think that we've also begun questioning more things. If you're keeping us busy with this, what are you distracting us from? What is
Hmm.
the yeah.
Hmm. One of the things that I hope doesn't happen, right? Because it just seems like folks are taking justice into their own hands in a much violent way. And so if this does come to fruition where alien existence be is among us, I hope that we can find a way. I hope it's peaceful, but I hope we can find a way to suppress that fear and be more curious and let it play out before we just react and start destroying what we don't know. And it's yeah, so I'm going to try and manifest something more positive.
Well, I think that if we put that vibe out there, that
Mhm.
be curious.
Mhm.
Don't automatically hate and distrust everything you don't know
Mhm.
because we have been proven in several arenas that the information given to us was very controlled.
Mhm.
We were
Absolutely.
not given everything to make our own decisions.
Right.
And it baffles me how it can be pulled off. You read the different things about the educational system. I think that is something that nearly everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
And how, sight reading was in, sight reading's out. This is what you can have. This is what you shouldn't have. These things, and I think that and I think that talking about a school system is a safer level of talking about things.
Mhm.
But just because a study says something is good or not good, there's the actual then making changes within school districts. My
Mhm.
oldest daughter, she went through 5 different math programs. Um, the school just kept buying into something different, something different. It's like, "Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness." As a mom, I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think too, one thing that we forget is that yes, you know, we do have scientific backup, right? And we have these studies that we can reference, but we don't take into account that the people that they're studying, their actual their actual lives, right? Their environment that they live in, the upbringing that they have, the resources they may or may not have, and all those elements can totally skew that the results of a certain survey, right? And so that's why we have to dig a little bit deeper. It's a foundation of what we start from, but we have to, like, okay, well, maybe that's true. Let me look at a little bit more information. Okay, you know what? My living circumstances is not that same way, so it may not be the same true for me. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's
There's so much to consider and to bring into looking at a shift.
mm-hmm.
And for that sake, I hope it is not a abrupt shift, a black and white shift that
Yeah.
we can start to everyone start to really and I think that that is what we encourage with people is finding who you are, who you want to be, what is important to you and how can you go about as an individual, resetting things in your life to set yourself up to achieve your best
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without
And I think one of the things that we're just comfortable with, as well as, even if we're starting to, make that shift, we tend to connect with people that are speaking the same language, you know and then, but I've had many different circles. I think I'm among like-minded circles, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I gotta change my circle again. So it's just a constant change. Like, you just keep shifting and shifting. But also, to that respect, though, there are certain folks you cannot remove from your circle, but just being able to be among them, with grace and respect.
well, and I think that finding first who you are, who you want to be, what is the highest version of yourself that you're working toward,
Mm-hmm.
and then filling that circle, you figure out where you need to be, and then you backfill that circle with the love and the support,
Mm-hmm.
and then you end up supporting others along the way, and it just really creates a nice circle for you. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that's kind of a
Yeah.
fairy tale way because there's a
Yeah.
lot more oomph that goes into it.
Yeah, so true. So I think that's a great segue for our next segment is, how our truth changes us, and how do we take the next step forward, going from there.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go on to commercial break.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're gonna continue our our discussion here about the my preview of Disclosure Day. So whether or not you're a believer in extraterrestrials, we're not. I believe that we're not alone in this universe, and the greatest disclosure may not be about what's out there. It may be about discovering how willing we are to expand our understanding of ourselves, each other, and then the possibilities that beyond what we currently know. And so when we come into truth of who we are and what we believe, my area is a lot about emotions. And so I wonder, how emotionally are prepared are we for a shift like that?
Ooh, I look at I don't think we are. I don't think as the human race as a whole, if I think about it in just in that term,
Mhm.
how when I think of my perception of how much control that we've had, the belief systems of how everything needs to happen, and if we turn that off,
Mhm.
I think it's going to be more like the movie Purge, which I did not see.
Oh.
But that movie, it's my understanding the movie was about, having a 24-hour window of an absolute lawless time.
Mhm.
So I think that we do need more, and I don't like the word transparency,
Mhm.
um, but we do need more of that to understand where things are. And I understand, to have things in place has been in the name and the guise of protecting us from ourselves.
Mhm.
But I think that we all need to exercise more control in our own individual lives before we rip off the band-aid of all the controls that have been in place.
Yeah. And I think it's just for my position, it's just getting out there and just sharing my perspective. I'm not pushing this on anyone.
Yeah.
This is just my reality and I'm sharing it, and it may not resonate with most people today, but this is a recording, right? So 5 years from now someone's going to stumble across this and they'll be like, "Oh, that's what she was referring to, that's what she's talking about." Because it's going to take some people some time, and there's going to be
Oh,
some people that's just in complete panic mode, and they're going to just be information binging, right? Because they want to catch up. They're
right.
going to want to catch up. And so I think what we are doing as a collective right now and the things that we share is going to help, um in those people's journeys along the way and in the future. So I
Mhm.
think we're doing a great thing. They may not agree, but
But yeah, and but I think that that's also just allowing people to learn and to grow and to ask questions
mhm.
and be in that the lack of judgment with
Mhm.
those answers, to be able to allow information to flow freely and for people to think their thoughts
Mhm.
so they can decide if they like their thoughts.
Yeah. And I think, that's what we've been conditioned to do a lot is we didn't know that it was okay for us to question and have that curiosity, right? And I experienced that a lot, in my day to day, in my career. It's like I come across a situation where, like, like a child is having an emotional outburst, right? And then the adult is like, "No, you're not." Like, be quiet, stop behaving this way. And I'm like, why? Why is it wrong for this child to have this tantrum? Let them feel what they want to feel. They don't know any better. Like, they don't even know why they're having that reaction in there. It's like, let them go. They're not, as long as they're not harming themselves or harming someone else, let them go through that transition, because they'll come to their own self-realization like, wow, I don't know where that came from, but I don't like that experience. So next time I get triggered like that, I don't want to behave that way. But we keep telling them how they need to behave, so they don't know that they have that freedom to feel whatever they want to feel when they want to feel it.
Yeah. And I think that, in looking at children's behavior, I think is maybe one of the simplest forms to observe this.
Mhm.
We talked the school system and how those things work. When you have a substitute teacher and you don't know the rules of this teacher, and I think that
Oh,
that's
yeah.
kind of going to be the changing of the guard, the changing of the rules. And so I think that that's kind of how that's going to play in. But if we're not teaching people to experience their feelings, that all feelings have validity, and
Mhm.
then if we go into our belief systems that when you don't feel the feels, blocked feelings get stuck, that's what causes our disease, and so many other things when we don't let it flow. But teaching creative ways to do these things is just so important, and that people have that safe space
Mhm. Mhm.
to really learn and create of who they want to be.
The other question that kind of I was like thinking about is like, is humanity more concerned or connected through technology, like, because we have AI, right? And so it's like, are they more connected to technology than, than through wisdom? Like, because even now, right, I think I've seen a lot of documentaries where, you know or on the news where these teens or young adults are using AI as their counselors now.
Oh,
And
absolutely, absolutely, and I was on a an AI witch hunt. I think AI is here. We're not going to get rid of it, but I do think we need
mhm,
to be very concerned and aware. There are lawsuits where
mhm,
AI has been um, allowed in places that have created significant harm and
mhm,
death in extreme cases. But I also think that as there's more structure and rigidity as to what is and is not accepted, I think that people find that acceptance within the AI
mhm,
sector.
mhm,
And so I think, yeah, we need to be aware of the other humans around us to make sure that they are being cared for and watched after and looked in on, so that they are not reclusing into these other things.
yeah. But I also don't want our society to use AI as the excuse for not taking responsibility of things that we should take responsibility for, right? It's so easy to
Right.
go, oh, AI was what? I was like, yeah, no.
Well, as a business owner, as being the head chief cook, bottle washer, the person who does being the solopreneur more than
Mhm.
having we do fall towards that more. But I think that without the checks and balances there, I believe this is why we were being so inundated. If we were
Mhm.
waiting for humans to produce the next reel, to produce the next sensation, to produce these things,
Mhm.
we have a longer wait time. I know, just streaming movies and having on demand. Talking with somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh, well, we watched this on, these call letters," and I was like, "Oh, well, then you'd have to sit down at a certain time and watch it."
Mhm.
And I think, when we start watching and we have that ability to binge watch and not have the commercials
Mhm.
in there, our brain doesn't get an opportunity to absorb all the information before we just keep packing more in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Information overload for sure.
Yeah, we push too much. And so I think that is where that human connection and that curiosity of how humans are and what else is here with us. How
Mm-hmm.
well do, some humans commute very, very well with birds. I can't go into the bird areas at the zoo either because I have to have the zookeepers take the birds off of me so I can leave. Um, there are some people who are drawn to certain animals that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they work well with animals. They work well with other people. They work well with birds or fish or whatever.
Yep. Or plants.
No, no plants here. Uh,
So, so the one of the things that they highlighted in the movie was about how she was able to speak their language, right, and connect with them. And I guess this kind of gets into our world and how we tune in and channel in. So kind of let's just flip it a little bit. So communicating, right? How do you how what do you think, like, let's say, you know it was true, the aliens are right here in front of us, like, what is your intuition telling you on how you would try to communicate with them, right? Because they're not going to speak English, they're not going to speak French, they're going to have a
they're gonna
totally
speak
different language
human.
to us.
And I
Yeah.
guess I would take that to that whole spiritual realm. I
Hmm.
just attended a workshop and about calling on the archangels and things.
Oh.
And I would think of it in that realm more with, the idea of star seeds and all of that. So I think that it's a matter of first having the openness to create or to even have that conversation.
Right, to receive it, right.
Yeah, because you
Hmm.
can't receive what you're not open to, and so I think that
Hmm.
that's where it's really important there is to have that willingness to receive other information.
Hmm.
And as individuals are learning how to receive information from more than just the telephone or another human speaking directly to them, as
Mhm,
they learn that process, being able to differentiate. And then
mhm,
sometimes, when I talk about working with my guides, I personally don't call specifically on any given deity. I use those who show up, who are ready
mhm,
to be here and to support me.
mhm,
So I think it all kind of allowing everyone to have their input on that.
mhm. So at the end of the movie, they actually brought out an alien being that they've been communicating with, and the alien whispers something into Emily Blunt's ears, and because she's a newscaster in the movie, and then she gets up on stage in front of the camera, and she's about to deliver the message, right, of what he or she said. I don't know if they have any gender. And the only word she said at the end, Amanda, was listen. And it's the same thing for what we do, right? There's no way that we can connect with our guides if we cannot quiet the other chaos that's going on in our mind and thoughts. And when we get as silent as we can, even when there's chaos and a lot of noise around us, that's how we're able to channel, right? And it's so,
Mhm.
I was like, that was the most perfect ending because I'm I'm sure everyone else was like, listen to what? You know?
No, listen, and we talk
Yeah.
about that when we talk about different ways to quiet the mind, and everyone jumps to meditation. Well,
Hmm.
for me, meditation is not some silly pose on a silly pillow that works for a lot of people. It also doesn't work for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it's anything. I love adult coloring books. I crochet. I do other things that keep part of your brain busy while the rest of
Hmm.
it quiets, where you don't have
Hmm.
that influx of technology
Right.
and find what works for you.
Mhm.
Find your quiet so you can hear that inner voice and the other voices that are coming to you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then have someone that you can talk to
Oh,
about
yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, meditation is not the commercial, those commercial
No.
pose that you're doing the arm and you're, sitting in an uncomfortable position. And people don't realize that they meditate all the time throughout the day when they go for their walks and they put they put their buds in and they're listening to some music and they're walking and they're focused, right? They're just focused and everything quiets and they don't and that's when they get those downloads, and that's what meditation and channeling is when you get those creative ideas that's not you creating that's that's your guys helping you out to filter out all the stuff that's within us that needs to be released. But we're just so busy in the hustle and bustle and just trying to fight our way through to be, just to exist in our own shells, and yeah, it's everything is just so crazy loud. To see.
Well, and I think, and I'm going to encourage everyone that, first of all, we are living in a time where everything is overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say overwhelming and reinforce that sense, but giving yourself time and grace,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you are going through, feel the feels, let them come up, let them
Mm-hmm.
be there, and finding your support system. Who can you talk to? Who can you reach out to? Is it
Mm-hmm.
your best friend? Is it a therapist? Is it a coach?
Yeah.
Where do you need to reach out and share this? Because there's nowhere in this that you have to do this alone.
Correct. Yep.
Never.
Yep.
Never. There is always someone out
Mhm.
there. And, you start with one coach and things are going great. And sometimes you don't continue to mix. And so you can get a different coach. You
Yep.
could have two or three coaches. You could have, you have certain people you talk about certain things with, and that goes
Yeah.
with everything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
don't just sit there, have questions, be curious, and reach out.
Yep. Elevate and progress.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, well, it was great talking to you today. If anyone is more curious about my curiosity, they can reach me at. Actually, I have a new website. I need to update my stuff, but it's okay. Reach me at dawnomalza.com or on Instagram as New Dawn Holistic Health. Um, or you can find us through the Chronic Health Collective website as well. And I just wish everyone well. I wish everyone peace. I wish everyone to be more curious, to get back to your childlike selves because that's where the fun is at instead of adulting all the time. And yes, and just yeah. Thank you, Amanda. It's been a great conversation.
It has. So if today's episode spoke to you, don't just watch, take action. Book your free consult with one of our expert coaches at thechronichealthcollective.com for personalized support. Subscribe to our monthly magazine for powerful tips from all 10 of our coaches to elevate your health, your mindset, and your relationships. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, or catch past episodes anytime on E360 TV or youtube.com/at Chronic Health Collective. Thanks for tuning in. Your transformation starts with one bold step. We will see you next week.